Hey everybody, it's Irene with BrainStormAcres, and today I need to fill the barrels, do some harvesting and some cleanup. We have a bunch of broccoli like this that needs to get harvested, and everybody needs to be watered, probably fertilize everybody a little bit too. It's going to take a while to fill all the 3 barrels, get everybody watered, and get everybody harvested. I have a bunch of cabbage that I think has probably gone as far as it should. There's some damage because we did have some severe frost, but like this head is really solid. So I want to harvest some of that stuff because we need to make some sauerkraut. We had a ton of broccoli that we just ate for lunch. These broccoli are not ready yet, which is great, which may sound funny, but I don't need more broccoli right now, but I am going to have to harvest out some in here. Well, not a bad day. Obviously moved a bunch of stuff around, planted out a bunch of pak choi, planted out the last 2 cabbage that Deb gave me, moved down a couple of the plants, the empty pots, so that they can be reused, watered pretty much everybody, harvested a bunch of cabbage, already took that in the house. I need to check over the broccoli and see if I have more broccoli that needs to come out of here. These are marathon, I believe. Yep, these are marathon, and these are not ready, which is great because I have actually got plenty of broccoli, but I don't want to let it go till it's past its best use by date. What I'm cutting now is side shoots. We ate a ton of side shoots for lunch today. They were so yummy. It was ridiculous. We had a whole big mess of them. We have another big mess in the kitchen in the fridge, but I'm going to go ahead and cut any that I see here that are ready because I don't want them to go past. Ideally, you should not allow them to get to the point where the flowers are opening, and so I don't want to do that. They're still edible at that point, but they're nicer when they're not opening. So these are Atlantis, yeah. So far, I would probably have to say that Atlantis is just about my very fave because it produces again and again and again. I get the center spike and then I get dozens of side spikes that are coming off. Not just 1 or 2, but dozens. I would say we get at least as much off the sides as we did off that original. And this is far from the perfect growing conditions this year. We've had some really rough weather. Even the cabbage was not as happy as it could have been. And to be honest, we were a little too crowded in here. So some of the things didn't get as much TLC as they needed. Wasn't quite watered enough a couple times. Probably could have used more fertilizer too, but you know, these guys still produced for me. And you can't beat that with a stick. Well, you can, but you know. So I'm just going through this Emerald Crown, through this Atlantis right now, and I'm picking a whole nother set of stuff. And I can see there's more coming behind this. I'm not cutting off everything. I'm just cutting off the sections that are really ready to go. But there's lots more small ones in here that are not ready yet. And they'll be ready in, probably 4 or 5 days. I kind of need them to give me that much space because I'm kind of swamped at this point with broccoli. I'm going to chop this guy up. I don't like the way he looks. Let's see. This guy back here is also Marathon. We have harvested center shoots out of that. So far, I am not seeing any side shoot production. So that for me is a big thing. Marathon is, we got it from Haas Tools. They said it was a very good thing to plant in the fall. Okay, because it makes sense that there could be a difference in how plants perform depending on whether it's spring or fall or whatever. We ate a big batch of it the other day. So we now know what it tastes like. It is a good broccoli flavor. Do I like it as much as Emerald Crown or Atlantis? No. And that's a personal favorite. You know, I mean, this has a good, solid broccoli flavor. So far, it has not been as productive. And it's not as sweet as Emerald Crown is, or Atlantis. So for us, a sweeter cabbage, and they're all in here together. So you can't say different growing circumstances or anything else. I'm not unhappy with them. We'll see. Long term, we'll see how they do. Until it's over, it's not over. They did not mature as quickly as the Emerald Crown and the Atlantis did. The first thing we were eating this fall was Atlantis. We actually had that for Thanksgiving, and we are still eating off of those plants. So that's a commentary on longevity in terms of production. These are Emerald Crown. Their side shoots are coming off, but they are not ready yet. This is Marathon. This has got some nice secondary shoots on this one. I will give them a couple more days, and there's another one back there that'll be harvested in a couple more days too. The Marathon is producing pretty well, and not quite as heavily as Emerald Crown or Atlantis. And because we're squished in terms of how much space we have, the level of productivity for a plant is extremely important to us. So if I were growing in a big garden environment, this might not have any effect on me at all. But because I'm growing in pots in a greenhouse, I have to look at what will do best in pots in a greenhouse. We have grown Emerald Crown and Atlantis 3 years, I think, now. And been very happy with them. They have, no matter what the weather did, still managed to produce well for us. So that's a big vote from where I sit. Okay. I am harvesting off of, these are Emerald Crown back here. We did not plant as much Marathon as we did Emerald Crown because we're trying something new. And if we have a limited amount of space, like I said, we have to go with what we know will work. But there's a decent quantity of Marathon in here. So we'll see how they do in the long run. They are slower so far to put off side shoots than the Emerald Crown or the Atlantis are. And Atlantis is known for its side shoots. That's kind of what it specializes in. So you would expect that to put off a ton of side shoots. I was actually surprised at how well the Emerald Crown did about putting off side shoots. And delighted, I might add, but surprised. Most commercial growers probably would not leave the cabbage around to harvest secondary shoots because it's a high labor. I mean, I'm sitting here going through snipping, spending, 5 minutes per plant snipping off these little bitty side shoots things. Well, to us, they're a delicacy. And what I've got in there right now is at least a solid meal for us in terms of broccoli. So, that's a big deal. For a grower, commercial grower, that's a joke. Unless he wants to eat it himself because he likes the taste of broccoli shoots, it would be a total joke. It would be totally not worth the time and effort to put into harvesting that. Unless you had some sort of a specialty, market that wanted something weird like that and was willing to pay like 10 times more than than what the regular cost of broccoli was. Yeah, this has got some other small ones in there, but they're not ready. But you can see, it does take time when you do this, but for me, in this case, time is dinner. So I'm getting a whole stack of broccoli. Now, I have to admit, I'm almost ready for a break of broccoli, but this stuff is so good. Thinking about making some beef and broccoli or something. Chopping up the leaves and using that as a green. And I don't normally use broccoli leaves at all. But when you're dealing with this kind of young, tender stuff, so I hope you find this interesting. I mean, it's kind of, if somebody had told me I'd be able to harvest all this extra stuff, I'm not sure I would have believed them at first. That was what the Atlantis is considered to be a mini broccoli. It's sold by Johnny Select Seeds. That was what they advertised, that this stuff was like amazing in terms of producing a smaller center head than the standard ones do. But then they produce like all these gazillions, almost like a broccolini would, where you get like lots and lots of little individual shoots of broccoli. I like the fact that it sort of substitutes for some of the other Chinese greens we could grow too, because last year we grew it was very tasty. It was very, very attractive to bugs, unfortunately. So we instantly had problems with it. It's not as cold hardy as broccoli is, so we couldn't grow it in the middle of winter. So it had a lot of pros and cons to it, but we loved the flavor. And it was great when we were making stir fry. But I haven't done it yet this year. I haven't decided whether it's worth the hassle factor or not. Having this, which is producing this really lovely crop of side shoots and everything, is just wow. And I'm sure that one of the reasons it's so sweet is because it's so cold in here. I mean, it's getting down below 32 a significant percentage of the time at this end of the greenhouse. The plants are fine. Broccoli can normally, cabbage at least, can normally make it down to about 22 or something like that before it suffers any damage. And we do have some cabbage in here that has been damaged. I have a limit to how much I can protect things. And I just wasn't able to protect as much as I wanted to. I've got some ideas for next year. But meanwhile, we'll just deal with what we have this year. I now have 3 dinners worth of broccoli side shoots here with leaves. And that is awesome. I tend to take off really shaggy looking leaves because if fungus and stuff is going to start, it'll start on some of the dead or semi-dead leaves. Everybody was fertilized earlier this week, so we should see another little upsurge in growth here. And I hope you enjoyed this, because it is an experiment, an ongoing experiment. What we've learned so far is next year, this bench has to come out maybe another 6 inches, because I need to have better access to the back side of this. It makes it too hard to water. I need more saucers. I'm going to see if I can squeeze some of those out of the budget soon again. I need, because I need a saucer for every pot. and I don't currently have that. This bench here also needs to come out. Well, it needs to go back. It needs to go back probably 6 inches, maybe more, so that we just have more, you know. I don't need that back space there. It's a waste of space. I don't want the plants right up against the wall, although this is insulation there. I still don't want them against it, but they could move 6 inches that way and it wouldn't be any problem. I need to space out the timing of my seedlings a little bit better next year. I had too many to start with, and I know why. I had planned to plant in the garden, and I decided at the last minute that we were having this massive influx of rodents into the garden, and it was going to be pure team misery trying to keep them from eating everything. So I decided to put it all in here, and I had not expected to do that. So we kind of really had to fudge it really quickly. So considering the fact that some of this wasn't planned at all, I think we've done really well. I transplanted my pak choi that I had started the other day. And as I mentioned, also the Arizona Worm Farm cabbage that Deb gave me. Which, by the way, they don't know what the variety is. Look, not smiling. I've got lots of seeds coming up here. I've got pak choi. No, not pak choi. Pak choi just transplanted. I've got 2 different kinds of carrots planted in here and spinach planted in here. And one kind of carrot and the spinach are up now. The most recently planted carrots haven't come up, but that's not shocking. I've been covering these every night at night with a row cover, and it has made a big difference. I wasn't sure how well they would like how chilly it was in here, to be honest. I'm probably going to throw a piece of row cover over here tonight, just because these guys in particular, little pak choys, have been undercover at night. So I'm just going to continue that for a little bit to give them a little bit more recovery time between being transplanted, and it's going to be cold. I don't know what the temperature is supposed to go down to tonight. But all of a sudden our sun went in, so that means it'll be nice and chilly this evening. Now, if we still keep our overcast, which we have out there right now, it'll actually keep it warmer. It's when we get those completely clear nights that there's no cloud cover to keep the heat in. And that's when we get really cold. And we've done that a few times lately. The current forecast is we're going to get colder next week. So the question is, how much colder? Do I need to cover everybody, or are we going to be okay? So we'll see. We won't know until we know, because I don't think half the time the weather guys know. So until next time, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because obviously we have a ton more to go on. I've got 3 more types of seedlings over there to transplant. I've got all kinds of other stuff going on. And yeah, we're going to be, I harvested a bunch of cabbage today. 4 or 5 heads, I don't remember. And they're going to become sauerkraut. We might make some coleslaw too. I have one in the back here I could harvest for coleslaw. It's a different kind of cabbage, slightly different flavor profile. But either way, coleslaw, cabbage, turning into sauerkraut, all that kind of stuff happening here. So until next time, bye.